Now, an hour of clarity for exhausted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship. Left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today, joined by Tim. Go with the freedom variant, O'Connor.
Unrestricted. Go with unrestricted.
Tim, the unrestricted O'Connor. He is free and unrestricted by Facebook now.
I won my case. I appealed to the higher powers of Facebook, and they immediately, after 6 days, just this morning, they reinstated.
Whoa, that's speedy for Facebook. That's that's good job on the speedy resolution.
Yeah, well, it's the power. They know they'd be losing out. This charisma they're getting for free.
That's right. This is for free, folks.
This is for
right
free,
now.
Facebook.
Enjoy it while you can. Who knows? But
they could go searching for other memes I've posted, bro. That one was the one they restricted me for was nothing.
There's the one meme of the guy on the gallows, right?
From the best the best Netflix movie of all time, the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, man. It was great. It was completely depressing, but the whole movie was depressing. And it was just this guy who almost gets hung like 3 times. And then all of a sudden, finally, he's like looking at a guy sniveling next to him. And he looks over and smiles. He's like, first time. And so in relation to the unfair claims about an unfair election in 2020, libertarians have been facing unfair elections for 50 years.
Right. So, yes, that's the meme is about. And they shut you down.
They did.
Just restricted you from going live for a minute there. But
yeah, and posting comments on other people's lives. They didn't want me doing that either. But I don't know. They
know you're a troublemaker. But they came back. But good evening, folks watching. Good evening, Shelley. Thanks for joining us. So we're talking about a couple different things today, right? So there's some Supreme Court cases. We'll talk about some political violence. I might follow up on some of the body armor ban stuff. There's an update to that in New York State. Potential update. We'll see. We'll see.
I'm not sure if we should tell them what they overlooked.
I know, right? Like, pardon me. I saw the story. Well, we're just gonna talk about it now. I saw the story this morning about it, which is that the way the law is written, it looks like it only bans soft body armor. Like, it doesn't actually ban like plate carriers.
I'm not sure we should tell them. And so basically, and this is serious. I don't mean to take away from it, but the body armor the guy in Buffalo was wearing would still be legal.
Yeah, right. So, and that's the headline of the thing that I saw this morning, including one of the local assembly people, like Sarah Clark, was like, "Oh yeah, we're like looking into it and seeing if it applies." I'm like, "You don't know?" You get like, and I kind of read the thing too, and I'm like, "Huh, this is." All right, it's interesting. Like it's worded a little bit strangely, but folks are reading the law now, and they're like, okay, the thing you passed, like it seems like it only applies to body vests, and they use body vests specifically in the language, and what they're describing is again soft vests, which isn't necessarily the thing that like a lot of folks are using, including the Buffalo shooter. He's wearing a plate carrier, right? He's wearing, you have a vest made of whatever material, nylon, whatever, and then you slide like steel or ceramic plates into it.
High quality stuff that will actually stop a bullet. And again, if you get shot, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, it's still gonna hurt, and you're still, even that momentum distributed across a steel plate you're still probably gonna feel that. But those ones, part of their reason for they claim to want to ban body armor too is like in that allegedly the Buffalo shooter was hit by the security guard who was shot. I have no idea if that's true because I don't remember that part of it, but supposedly he was shot, and if he wasn't wearing body armor, he might have been stopped earlier or whatever. And so that's why they're claiming this is, even though again, body armor in and of itself can't actually hurt anyone. It's a defensive thing, and everyone should be able to do that.
Well, and they don't want to blame themselves for creating a disaster with our youth, with their government response to COVID and the
Mhm.
nonsense of locking kids in their bedrooms for months and months at a time. They don't want to take responsibility for that. So the
Yeah.
only thing that they can do, and their divisiveness, okay, they keep us divided and arguing constantly. I don't care if you're on the right or on the left. This constant narrative of getting us upset over things and getting people really mad at each other. That's the root cause of this stuff. That's
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yep, exactly. And we'll get this comment from Steven says making illegal gun laws are unconstitutional. Yeah, they sure are. They're doing lots of that in New York State, and we've talked about this quite a bit, but like the body armor thing,
Yeah.
where I saw that and then I read the law, I was like, huh, this is still a dumb law, but yeah, they missed that part. Like, I mean, I'm glad they did. And this
Yeah.
is applying in 30 days. So now again, like what they're going to try to do is they're going to say, well, actually this does apply, and they're going to try to weasel around, or they'll just make an update to the law. But it's and I said this on Twitter, is like there's such a you know, a willful ignorance among some of the like anti-gun folks in like not
Yeah.
understanding this stuff
Yeah.
and never actually like looking up the definitions and being clear about what means what. And then, again, like definitions of things like a rifle, like a lot of them don't understand, like there is no functional difference between a rifle and an AR-15. An AR-15 is it's just a rifle. Or they throw out things like, we're gonna ban
Well,
semi-automatics because they don't know what semi-automatic means.
they don't know anything about it, and they look dumb. And look, guys, there's always a point I like to throw out there. We think somehow we're led, hopefully, by the best and the brightest amongst us. We're not. We're led by the laziest and the most aggressive. They have no idea what they're voting for. They're taking a side. It's based in emotion, and this is what we
Well,
get. This is where we get to.
yeah.
God.
Let's say, and like I want to be clear because you always like get me on this, right? It's not that I think that the people leading us are good. It's just that I think that they are trying to do something good without fully understanding the consequences, and they also have a lot of short-term incentives too, right?
I know. I remember when I used to give them the benefit of the doubt, Kevin. I know.
Yeah,
Like,
let's
that's
say
when
it's
I
not
was
a matter of giving them benefit of doubt because, like, to me, it's actually worse, right? Like, we've got to do something like good now. Forget about the consequences. When the consequences are
Mm,
actually like making it so that like people who are poor are not able to access it. Like the stupid proposal for 1,000% tax on like rifles, right? Like, what does that do? That doesn't make it so that like someone who could already afford a $5,000 rifle can't go get that rifle. They're going to be able to afford it. It means
right.
that like people who are like trans individuals who want to be able to defend themselves from like actual like lunatics can't go and buy a rifle for their home anymore. That's what it
Correct.
means. That's what you're doing, Democrats, is you're
Yeah.
making like the people you claim to protect, like you're making them defenseless.
And law-abiding citizens in poor neighborhoods, okay,
Mhm.
be it segregated by race or just economic status, those are the people that can't afford to buy guns. Those are the people that your taxes are going to stop from buying guns. And guys, did black market guns double the price of guns or do $1,000 tax? Black market guns are going to be a thing,
And
man. And
suddenly, I mean,
there's
there's something like,
machinists. There's
you know,
machinists out there.
yeah,
It's not.
people
This
can
isn't rocket
still do it.
science. This
Yeah.
stuff.
No, and there's plenty of guns out there. I said it's again I understand like we've got to do something now. Like we see this and we're upset and we got to do something now. Again, I don't see that as a better thing. Like these people are necessarily more moral. It's the people who think they're doing the right thing are absolutely going to destroy us and destroy our rights because they think they're doing the right thing. So like, yeah, it's not a. I think it's not that it's accidental.
Right.
It's more that it's
You-
they're
You're
not fully.
ascribing good intentions where I'm in my conspiracy nature thinking it's a bit nefarious. And I don't think they were that far apart, even though there is to
No.
me
It's closer. It is kind of close. I think, right. It's
there's bumbling incompetence, which we both seem to agree on, right? But then
yeah.
there's this nefarious drive to make us dependent on government, and how they keep winning re-election and filling their campaign coffers and making their families rich. Like all of this stuff is so obvious. I just don't understand.
Well, you know, again, what I see as the motivation that is you ever, I'm gonna have trouble finding the study now, but there's this study that said like, way back when like Priuses first came out, that Prius drivers are more aggressive, and when they kind of started to figure out like why are Prius drivers more, is because like, well, they're already doing a good thing by driving like Priuses, and so they feel like they get like a bit of karmic debt,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
And so they're like, well, it's not a big deal if I'm a little bit of a jerk because like I'm the good guy. I'm doing
I'm
something good
saving
for
the
the environment. I'm
environment with
saving
my
the earth.
crappy car.
So if I'm a jerk to that, you know, woman in an SUV, like they're hurting the earth. They deserve it. And me, I'm a good person.
You're
I'm
you're
saving
pointing
it.
at something great, right? Like that we have encouraged people to devolve into hatred for people who are doing things that they don't agree with, and that is real. So the karmic debt thing, I get that, but it's also this superiority thing where they're like, I'm better than that guy driving that SUV because here I am driving my shiny little piece of crap car, Prius, blah blah blah. Look how great I am. Their
Yeah.
virtue needs, their virtue signal is turned up to 11, like Spinal Tap.
Yeah. So actually that reminds me, I don't know if you saw this. There's this like Ezra Klein opinion piece in the Washington Post, and he did a tweet about it too, where he's talking about like the most common question he gets is whether or not it's like moral to have children, you know, and
Oh God.
whether you know I'm going to be sending my kids into like a you know a climate crisis and adding to the climate crisis, whatever, you know, and then part of me thinks again, it's the same mentality as like, you know, I didn't have kids for whatever reason, but I need to feel morally superior about that
Oh my
and
God.
like a jerk to people who do have kids because like I'm helping the earth. To
Yeah.
Ezra Klein's credit, like regardless of what you think of his belief, he's like, no, that's dumb.
Well, I like it when people call out stupidity, whether they lean left or they lean right. Like when they call out the stupidity of things associated with their technical ideological leanings. This is great. But look, I want to tell you guys, and Shelly will know this, and Lynn will know this, and Stephen will know this.
You got put them
This
people up then.
Yeah, this goes back to the 70s. Like this is a repeating cycle, man. Like this notion that we save the world by being virtuous and by not having children, and am I doing the right thing? Like there was like when we were hiding under desks, you know, there was this big discussion from nuclear bombs. There was these big discussions about whether we should be having children and how many children should we bring into this world. And China's one child policy started back then. And
Yeah,
it
which
just
is have you ever seen the documentary about that? I think it was it like an Amazon documentary about the one child policy.
no.
Oh, it's very good. Well, good and like horrifying, right? Because again, it didn't stop people from having babies, especially in rural China where they didn't have access to like decent birth control. Like it just meant a bunch of people were abandoning children and or
Yeah.
selling them.
Oh, black market children. Thank you, China. You know, like that's the thing. When you ban things, when you prohibit things, when you make it profitable to do things out of the normal realm of business, again, black market guns, put $1,000 tax on every gun that they sell. You will get a thriving black market in for guns. It's really that simple.
Yeah, that's what ends up happening, and you know. And again, hope what's up with Stop the Purchase. Yeah, no, we're against that. And again, it didn't. It may have only stopped the
Maybe
purchase
not.
of soft vests, maybe not plates. So
We
we'll see.
I believe that there's a protest organizing, guys, where it's like wear your body armor to work, you know, and like I think that would be kind of epic, don't you? Like, all
I
right, I'm
mean,
going to work.
I work from home, so it's just gonna be me sitting in my attic.
You'll have to do selfies. Like, I am.
Yeah, wear it to work. Wear it on the show, I guess. But I don't have body armor. You know, but so I could. It just wouldn't be much of a show of it. Just be me sitting here like hot and like wearing heavy stuff.
Hope is saying you can get kids for cash right here in the USA. I've had conversations with people that are saying that our adoption system is corrupt and broken, and that they steal children from defenseless people, forcing them into money kind of deals. Like, and then I don't know. I hope it's not true. I'm not. I wouldn't be
Maybe.
surprised if it was.
I don't know. I mean, listen, there are a lot of issues with child protective services, the foster care system. Like it's
Mhm.
so I don't know if I want to get like, but again, like just kind of on the macro level, there's both a wild over enforcement and wild under enforcement at the same time. Um,
Agreed. Being a
it's
former
weird. Like
child.
you never know exactly what you get, but there's some families who are like perfectly fine and content, and the kids are safe and happy and healthy, and like CPS seems to like crush them. And then there are other cases where there's legitimate abuse going on, and it's just
Yeah.
nothing
Have
happens.
Have you
You
met
know,
Jonathan Howe? Have you talked to him at all?
name sounds
Okay, he's
familiar.
running against AOC. He's a
Oh
libertarian.
yeah, no, he was on the show. Oh my god.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
I blanked.
What he's a public defender and he's a
Yeah.
zealot, keep families together kind of guy. He's saying that people are losing rights to their kids for no reason, and he fights it every chance he gets.
Yeah, well, it's a lot. Unfortunately, there are so many cases where that happens, where it's just something, especially like families who are like in tenuous financial situations, and there'll be something like, okay, well, like the 11-year-old's gonna watch like the 6-year-old today while mom like finishes up her shift while you're still in school or
For
getting
like
home from school.
$800 a kid every week or something. They get good money for it.
Oh, you're talking about the foster care system? Yeah,
Yeah, I
well,
thought
yeah.
that's
I
what
mean,
you were talking
that's
about.
no. I was just talking about like the families who will get like dinged for this stuff, where it's like, oh, well, like an 11-year-old watched a 6-year-old for like an hour, and like someone called the cops on them,
Oh,
like that type of stuff.
that that's
And then
virtuous
suddenly
calling
they've
the
got
cops in that situation. You have to signal your
yeah,
virtue.
and then yeah, so I know there's foster situations where like the foster families are there are many awesome. Again, I have relatives who like have fostered kids before and adopted kids out of that system before, and like there are many people doing great things, and I know there are other people who abuse that system and use it to profit from kids, and they I know they barely get enough money to like take care of these kids, and then they still end up in some cases, hopefully rare, but I don't know the full extent of it. They take that money as profit for themselves while not
From
taking care of their kids fully, and then end up with a whole bunch of
I just want to point out where else can you go from body armor to foster care? Like no place else
I
but
know this
the
is, but
libertarian.
see, like this is like the unrestricted version of our podcast, because we would have normally had to have ended this segment 7 minutes ago and then would have switched topics
Right,
or
right.
whatever. But like now we just like roll
Oh,
with like whatever the rant is,
I
and
that's what
suddenly
I
we're
love
into a new
about doing
topic.
lives, man. That this is perfect, no time constraints. I always felt under a tons of pressure when I was doing the radio show. Like I had to hit 10 minutes and 12 minutes, and my brain doesn't work like that, Kevin. It
Well,
just
I know. Well,
won't.
you got to think of. I mean, with the radio version, it's tough with guests sometimes too, because
Oh,
you're just like, hey, you're making a great point, but I'm gonna cut you off because we got to do commercial. Well, yeah,
yeah, and you're getting very excited. Sorry, I'm gonna have to shut you down
and
right
cut your
now.
mic. All right.
Yep.
But yeah, anyway, I mean, I know we had a bunch of other stuff to talk about too. We could get to some of that. Do you want to do the Supreme Court stuff, the political violence stuff?
All right, so let's go with the Supreme Court stuff because I'm very disappointed in what I'm perceiving to be in a very authoritarian swing in the Supreme Court on a couple of issues that I think can be really, really problematic for our society, right? Like you have a right to due process, you have a right, like people get convicted all of the time based on not really enough evidence, zealous prosecution, which you want your prosecutor to be zealous. Don't get me wrong, guys. But the biggest piece of that is having inadequate defense. A prosecutor can be as zealous as he wants to, as long as he's not overcharging you. I don't care. Okay.
Mhm.
But if you don't have a right to an adequate defense and appeal your case, we've lost something as a society. And guess what? I'm turning it over to you, Kevin. I'm so mad right now. I don't even know what to say.
Well, yeah. So we'll talk about like the case that came out, right? So I'm trying to find the actual name of the case, but there's a Supreme Court case that came out, and the ruling was 6-3, and kind of what you're getting to, right? Is like you need an adequate defense for being able to stay out of jail. The prosecution's their job, for better or worse, they should and could. We could talk about the San Francisco thing later in the show too, but in some case they should and could, make sure that they're honest and have integrity and present the evidence in a fair way. But it is an adversarial system, right? Like they're supposed to. Their goal is to get like some sort of conviction, right? And then the defense needs to find all the ways in to create enough doubt so that you can't get convicted. But in some cases, especially if you're relying on a public, defender system, there are a lot of really awesome, amazing public defenders, but a lot of them are stretched thin, and sometimes, too often, in fact, people who may not have actually even committed a crime end up in the judicial system, or should have gotten a better deal, and end up kind of getting forced into the police system. They get out, and there's sometimes evidence that could exonerate them for that. Well, part of what the Supreme Court ruling says, and I'll share the link in the comments for this, is, and this was, a death penalty case, I believe, too. It says that you can't present new evidence. And again, I'm kind of like new evidence obtained after the conviction isn't something that you can bring to court and
let me color this a little bit. The evidence wasn't presented because of inadequate legal representation. Okay, so the guy had a public defender. The public defender didn't have resources to access expert testimony that could have offered culpable, like exculpatory evidence, right? That's where you go in and say, all right, the guy could not have been he was out of town the day that this injury most likely occurred. That kind of evidence, people shouldn't be put to death if that kind of evidence is available. And they should get a new trial, but that evidence was never presented in court. And yeah, you've got the right case up there.
And go ahead.
It's a shame, and it's something that we want to believe in, that we have a system of justice where if you're innocent, everything is going to be done within our power to keep you out of jail. Especially, guys, I don't like the death penalty. Okay, I'm crazy in love with being able to defend myself and you guys being able to defend yourself, but this is a separate issue. The state should not have the power to put criminals to death. Part of it, I don't know what you've heard me say it before. It bothers me. So this guy, this guy may in fact be innocent. Okay, but he can't present that evidence. He had a crappy lawyer. The lawyer didn't put together a good case, and people reviewed the case. The Innocent Project reviewed the case afterwards and said, they have medical experts that work for free. The medical expert said, look, this injury takes days to die from. He was accused of killing his 4-year-old stepdaughter. Mm-hmm. And so it is like, guys, that's a real thing, right? Stepdads killing their kids. They're the most likely parental injurer out there. Okay. Stepdads being into a new family unit. So the suspicion is reasonable, right? That this guy should be looked at for this injury. But there's medical experts that say that the type of injury was like an abdominal injury. It takes days to die from. The details of it are kind of horrible, right? I don't even want to make light of it. But he was out of town when the injury had to have occurred. It couldn't have happened. The death couldn't have happened as fast as what the court made the case.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
No, so it does make sense. I mean, you brought the details of the case. No, I'll kind of bring it back up again. Like the point is, like, so what the court ruled, like in the opinion, is essentially like, well, we don't want people to. They said sandbag, the courts, right? Like, I'll kind of read a quote from this NPR article. It says, so the federal courts may not hear new evidence obtained after conviction, show how the deficient the trial or appellate lawyer in state court was. To allow such evidence to be run in the federal court, he says, encourages prisoners to sandbag state courts, depriving the states of the finality that is essential to both the retributive and deterrent function of criminal law. So basically the worry is like, well, it would encourage people to then like find new evidence after the fact and to in fact withhold evidence until after the fact to prolong like a criminal conviction or trial, right? But like doing that could be, and I know the court doesn't have the power, but doing that could be its own set of crimes. It may already be. I don't know. Again, neither of us are lawyers here, and if anyone is on this,
give us your opinion. We won't.
Yeah, no, like just like I feel like that it probably already is like a thing, right? To do that and then you'd also again have that setting of like, hey, my lawyer had this stuff and didn't present that, and I would have rather have not been convicted in the first place.
Sure.
Which is again kind of what this is. They're like, hey, my lawyer didn't have the resources, wasn't competent enough to go and get this evidence that existed out there for me, and because of that, like here's this thing that could show to create enough doubt to overturn a conviction, and the Supreme Court is saying, no, we don't want to do that. And yeah, it's a pretty bad ruling because again, if it sometimes new evidence does come out, legit new evidence or evidence that existed before, but like lawyers couldn't or didn't do stuff. You should be able to do that. I don't know. That doesn't seem crazy to me.
Good human beings that are prosecutors only want to convict guilty people. They don't want to convict innocent people, especially in death. They don't. Okay, like there's always bad seeds and bad apples everywhere.
Did you read the Atlantic article about James Parson? Oh
no.
I'm gonna share the link, folks, in the comments. Like, this is the most infuriating, most infuriating shit I've ever read.
Oh, really?
Like it is wild. There's like a forensic expert who the story frames it in a way that, like, and again, I don't know for sure, but the story frames it in a way that she outright lies in court about actual evidence that got people convicted and sent to jail. Like this guy, again, the person whose story is about a guy who was whose wife probably committed suicide, but this forensic expert presented evidence, like fiber evidence and other evidence, to suggest that like he was the one who killed her.
No, boy.
But it was all nonsense. Like it wasn't true. She was inconsistent, and no one caught it. And so now she has been on, and there's a bunch of cases of hers that they go over that it seems like she just did not pursue the actual like evidence available to her, and then just told kind of what she either her gut feeling told her or what police had told her. Like it seems like they just kind of went through that.
Are we talking about the Vice President of the United States?
No? I know it could be her, right?
I mean, she's faced some pretty
career.
Yeah, she's faced some pretty aggressive prosecution and some really scam-like convictions, bro.
Yeah, and a lot of hers are bad. she's a bad person.
She's an authoritarian, man.
Yeah,
that's it.
But yeah, so Shelley, I think they have to enter all the evidence in the discovery phase. But if the public defender didn't look for evidence, I don't think that's illegal. I'm not a lawyer. Yeah, so again, it's one of those lines like, is my lawyer incompetent or not looking or doesn't know to like find this stuff or can't, because they just.
It's been widely interpreted that the Sixth Amendment guarantees you a lawyer that's effective and that is zealous in your defense. Okay. When we get into public defenders who don't have adequate resources, and the case is not a popular one, look, these guys, public defenders, getting $25-$30 an hour to handle a court case when they could be out charging $250, $300, $400 an hour. How dedicated are they going to be to that? Like, okay, that's a real thing. And then are they going to chase down? How are they going to chase down money for expert witness testimony? They have to apply for a grant. Expert witnesses don't want to. They get paid on the same sliding scale, right? They don't get a lot of money to testify in a public defender case. So, but people are still deserve that. I'm going to sound like a lunatic leftist here. People who are on trial for their life deserve representation. They deserve a zealous defense. Better one guilty man go free than 100 guilty. I'm saying it backwards. Forget it.
Yeah, no,
there ain't no law when you're drinking the claw.
There you go. Just you're drinking your Truly over there and get confused. No, it was a better 100 guilty men go free than 100 or than one innocent person.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know why I went down it backwards. I've been working on that quote during this whole conversation.
So close, but it shows like I think they enter all the evidence in the discovery phase. But if the public defender didn't look for the evidence, I don't think that's illegal. But so in New York, it used to not be a thing until the most recent round of criminal justice reform that the prosecution had to turn over like all of the discovery evidence, the evidence in the discovery phase, like sooner. Like now, there's a much quicker turnaround of when they have to like give that evidence over to the defense. Yeah. So that's one of those that I'm generally supportive of criminal justice reform. That's one of those good ones that I think.
Yeah, that is
I know some DAs are like mad about it because like that's not enough time. Like, well, I think there's a mechanism to ask for like extensions and stuff, right? Like if you'll have your stuff ready, then you just don't have your stuff ready, and then you have to ask to like move the date. But there's considerations about speedy trial and all that stuff, right? But you should have to turn over what you have like as soon as possible because again, you gotta present the facts like this is what we have, and then you could build an adequate defense off of what they have,
right?
Especially if it turns out the forensic expert on the case is like a fraud, which again that you got to read that Atlantic article if you can.
Yeah.
It is a long read, like it takes a while, but it's worth reading. And one of the other like interesting points that they make is like it's just starting to become a thing in a few areas where they're separating forensic labs from police departments because a lot of them were close. They would get cars. They would, they'd kind of be employed by police departments or, other folks on the side of, law enforcement. And there's some shift away to say like, well, maybe these labs should be truly independent. And completely blind too. Like they look at the evidence that is actually quantifiable and true, and it's blind. They don't know exactly what case they're on. They're just like, here's the evidence for this thing. Tell us if it matches this result.
Oh, Oneonta has a horrible history with the state police, and the crime labs and. Decent guys making really bad decisions and ending up going to jail. Like they and luckily, like all of their cases got retried. All of the people that they convicted were reconvicted. But man, did they make some bad decisions, bro. And we have to separate. Again, the presumption of innocence is tantamount to our legal system. It's absolutely important to how our legal system works. And I don't even want. I know one of the guys. He's a good guy. He paid his debt to society. I bet he wishes he hadn't have done it. So that's it.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. Some of that stuff that's terrible. Again, I'm not familiar with what went on there, but a lot of folks in these forensic
I'll tell
systems.
You the story about it sometime. Like they paid their debt to society, so it's not. And believe me. They took the hit for other guys that were doing the same thing. So
yeah,
that's it. That's a real thing. It really happened.
Yeah, but anyways, we'll get some of this stuff. Thanks, Hope. Appreciate that. I don't know who this is. Is that one of your senators?
Is the guy I ran against.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
He's rerunning, and he. I don't know if he's targeting like. Okay, so he releases a statement in Hudson Valley, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, we definitely can use some more gun control." And then I wonder if he's playing that political game of matching his message to the area. Hudson Valley is a little bit more densely populated than.
Actually, let me Give me a second, because I just realized I didn't actually read off the comment, and I released the show as a podcast too. So Pat saying, our New York State Senator Oberacker agrees with the government raising the age of purchasing some guns.
He's a Republican from Senate District 51. And yes, he agrees with Kathy Hochul about raising the age of purchasing some guns. He does. Or at least that's what he said to the Hudson Valley newspaper. I'm not sure if he was interviewed by the Oneonta Daily Star, if he would say the same thing, but it's going to be unfortunate for him, and he's going to have some questions to answer. That's for sure.
Yeah, no. Well,
hang on. I want to deal with this one, Kevin, because I'm a libertarian. Name one that isn't. Name one that isn't, Dave. I mean, Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, they're in Kentucky. Name one in New York that isn't. That's it. That's what I want to say. Sorry. And I love you, Dave. I'm glad you're here. But I think that we have to accept a certain amount of reality about our governing system. There's supposedly a party of loving people and helping people. And then supposedly there's a party of smaller government and freedom and lower taxes. And neither one of those two parties do either thing that they're supposed to be promising to do. Yep. They don't.
Exactly. And
so
I'll get
to
this one.
Sympathetic to people that want smaller government. I really am.
It'd be nice. Oh, well, we got to find them in the mainstream parties, or start electing some independent folks. Maybe some libertarians.
Perhaps a libertarian or two.
Perhaps. And Shelley says we had 3 separate medical examiners do independent autopsies of George Floyd's body. Every case should get that much attention. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them really should. They're. But what happens is, again, in a case where a police officer is accused of murdering someone, even though in this case it was like on camera, those tend to get investigated a lot more. There's a lot more due diligence, unfortunately, than a lot of stuff that just kind of gets passed through the system.
Oh, and I can name one. John Salka was a true conservative. He was leaned a little too religious for his communication purposes, but he's not even getting to run again because he's been gerrymandered out of a district pretty much. So he was an okay guy.
It's gonna be fun to see how redistricting impacts everything. I don't know.
He's gone now. He's all done because that's how politics plays.
We'll see.
He's a guy that he introduced the bill to lower the petitioning requirements for third parties, and now he's gone. Just like that.
Yeah. It's
it hurts, but we're getting to tell the truth to some people. That's it.
No, that's what it is. I was gonna go ahead. You
I know I got my brain is on 11, bro. It's popping from subject to subject.
What was the thing we're actually talking about?
What were we talking about? That's a good question. Well, we were talking about the 6th Amendment, and we were talking about the cases that the Supreme Court kind of came down authoritarianly in the Egbert versus Boyle and the what's the guy's name? You guys should check this out. I'm going to post did you post a link to
we knew the other Supreme Court case? Is that the one you're thinking, the Egbert?
The Egbert versus Boyle, that's the border.
That's the border one, which that one is also interesting, right? Because essentially it says that it makes it harder for people to sue for damages when a federal officer violates your rights, like the First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, things like that. And so if you don't know right now, like if you would live within 100 miles of a border, more or less border patrol agents can search your person, vehicle, home with very little restriction. Like
we have the DEC in central New York, so people understand that's how it works. They can search. They have all sorts of search rights that other people don't.
Yeah. So if you would live within 100 miles of the border, and DEC, they got some.
They got some broad powers, broad-based powers.
Think about them, but no, that's a good point too. But this court case makes it tougher to do that. And again, you and I are talking about Sue. Like we're like like Neil Gorsuch is like the reasonable one on
He's
a
our
lot of these
hero,
cases,
man.
and yeah, no, on both of these, he ruled with the majority on what I think is the wrong side. But again, this makes it tougher for folks to be able to sue federal government officers for violating your rights, your Fourth Amendment, First Amendment rights. And Gorsuch, his position on this was like, well, there's kind of a precedent for these types of things happening, but if our government really wanted a remedy for this thing, they'd create a law for that. I'm like, wait, okay, like since when does Congress need to create a law to protect like our natural rights that are in the Constitution? Like what the hell?
And look, as far as natural rights go, they're only like delineated. They're not granted by the Constitution.
Well, right. Well, again, like the Constitution already restricts the government from doing these things, right? Like that's to me, that's the supreme law of the land, right? Like
Correct.
the government can't, have unreasonable warrantless searches of our person or papers, anywhere and then this is clearly violating that, and it doesn't matter. Like the majority, which Gorsuch kind of wrote like a concurring opinion with the majority. It was so it's slightly different, but the majority is like, oh yeah, well, like for national security purposes, like we can do this within 100 miles of border, which is like half of the country's population.
That's just. I saw that graphic of the 100 miles within 100 miles of the border. It's like almost everybody.
Most of us live on the coasts, like again, like Rochester. Like I think even like you are technically within 100 miles of the border. It's
I think I could get to Canada in 100 miles.
Yeah, it's like most of New York. It's just like a little bit of like Albany area and like up to the Adirondacks. Like that's the only area.
But I might be within 100 miles of the Pennsylvania border. I think I'm a little bit more than 100 miles away from the Canadian border.
No, we'll see. We'll find out. We'll pinpoint you on one of those graphs to see if you have rights or not.
I told you we have the DEC. I don't have rights. It's like
just different officers of the law going after you.
Yeah. There's plenty of stories about DC showing up to aid a car search. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. And they can search my car. I got nothing illegal in it. That's
sure. No. They don't let them say, like, I know my rights. Am I being detained? Like, do that. You can't say I got nothing to hide.
They get so mad, man, when you say stuff like that. Then you're like,
make them mad.
Well,
you're fighting for liberty. You gotta make people mad.
Then you get a separate ticket for every light bulb that's out on your car when you behave like that. I just gotta tell you right now.
No, I know. Like, yeah, it's like I get it, and I understand why like people do that, and I like have my line, but most of the time I'm just like, oh yep, oh sorry, yeah, gosh, didn't know my inspection was 3 months late.
Even though I did know, and I feel really bad.
Yeah, just don't notice the other stuff. All right. Gosh, No, I'm polite for as long as I can. Like, I get why some people are like, nope, no more. This is my moment. I'm gonna stop. But
yeah, they've got cops have a tough job. All right, they are charged with certain things that they're not in charge of doing certain things that they don't necessarily want to do, and that is writing tickets to middle class America to shake them down for money. I don't think that that's what they really want to do. I don't think they went to 4 years of college, then went to training to write tickets to shake down middle class America for money and poor people. I don't think they did.
I mentioned the the inspection thing. I got pulled over by Canandaigua cops 3 times. Like as soon as I drove into the town, like for like a week, and I was like, every time, like so like the second and third time, I'm like, listen, man, I have the ticket right here of the first time I got written up for this. Like, bro, I know, I scheduled it. Like, my mechanic can't get me until Saturday, but like, and I was like, I had to tell because I had a client down there who wanted me to like visit him, like a bunch that week because I was working on a project, and I was like, dude, I can't go down here again. Like I've gotten pulled over every time.
That's Unadilla used to be that way. People were getting tickets for going 32 and 30 back 30 years ago. Yeah. They're probably mellower now, but they were famous for that.
See, Dave knows it's up. Dave's gonna fight. So Dave says on Facebook, he says, you need to educate them when they pull you over. Why are you stopping my right to travel? Show me the injured party. Yeah, like I said, Dave, I get it.
Hey, try it, see how it goes.
And like I said, yeah, like it's a balancing for me because again, there's a time and place. Not I'll do that, but most of the time I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna be nice to this person because they have power over me and they can make my life miserable if they choose to be a jerk. And I don't know how they're going to react if I give them a libertarian speech. If I get on my soapbox again, it's a terrible thing. I don't know what sort of comp I'm dealing with. I don't know if they're going to be reasonable if I explain like my rights to them. They might be like, I'm going to find something illegal on this guy. Like I'm gonna get him out of his car. I'm going to say I smelled weed and I'm going to tear up his vehicle.
Yeah.
You know?
And they don't have to put it back together for you.
Nope. Yeah, again, you don't know who you're dealing with. So again, Dave, I get it. But if you don't want your day, like if you got the time to do it and you got like the money and to hire a lawyer to do that stuff, like more power to you. Again, like if you don't give any more information away than you need to, like don't admit.
They get mad when you don't answer their questions.
Don't just answer as much as you need to, right? Like exactly as much as you need to. Be friendly. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but don't say anything that unnecessarily. Hey, anything in the car that I shouldn't know about? Don't be a smart ass about it.
Right.
Like,
Dave's on fire tonight with some good comments.
That's right.
I did successfully challenge a ticket.
My dad's favorite line was, "If you're not having fun in court, you're not doing it right." I did end up not paying for that inspection violation. I was just like, hey, listen, like I was between jobs. I just started a new business. And they're like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Yeah, we'll throw it out. Or you know what? Actually, pay it. You're going to pay a seatbelt fine. It's going to be like $30. I'm like, sure, whatever.
Whatever.
Like that's better than like the whatever $150 I was going to pay.
Yeah.
But I mean, Dave says he never had a lawyer. All right, man. So if you know that you can do it. It's just a risky move, right? Like it's not the right thing for everybody. Like it's avoid the fight if you can. Like if for most people, just remember that the state can absolutely find a reason to screw you over. So again, that like I'm not a lawyer, but like I've talked to enough lawyers, read enough stuff. Like careful.
Yeah. The issue is if you're like me and they're pulling you over for perhaps your headlight is broken, odds are there's at least 3 or 4 other problems with your vehicle that they could take their time and go around the whole thing, write those tickets too. So then
and Tim's like, yeah, I can't find those 3 bricks of cocaine in my car. And
no,
I'm kidding.
No, I know you are because I can't afford that.
Yeah, right.
That is out of my price range. Yeah, so basically very disappointed in Neil Gorsuch. I really am.
That's right. I mean, like disappointed in the court in general, right? For crapping all over our rights. But yeah, again, it's weird, and I'm curious to see what happens with the rest of these cases come out. Including possibly like the I forget what the name of the actual case called, but the one that might overturn Roe v. Wade that got leaked.
Yeah,
Roe v. Wade and Casey v. Planned Parenthood.
I mean, if maybe they are, maybe they've just become another political animal, and that I guess is probably our. Everybody is so polarized by politics that probably politics has even reached the Supreme Court, and so has violence.
Yeah. No, I mean we had that on our docket to talk about tonight because there's the threat to Justice Kavanaugh. A guy had showed up armed to his house, which is interesting. That it didn't really get a lot of coverage.
No, imagine.
No, I know, like that, like except like conservatives now are like they're doing the like no one covered this thing, biased liberal media type stuff. But again,
they're right.
Yeah, no, it's kind of true. Like, and I had it on my list to talk about on like Wednesday, but like we got on other stuff, so like we never talked about on the radio show because we didn't talk about that. Talk about someone had set a fire in a pro-life pregnancy clinic in the Buffalo area, in Amherst, the Compass Care place, and smashed in the windows and everything too. So again, it's we might see, fortunately, political violence related to this. And I know a bunch of folks are blaming Chuck Schumer for it too, because it's like, you got to expect. I'm gonna misquote him, but he said like, well, you're gonna expect consequences for this type of decision, and like people are gonna,
he absolutely said it. It absolutely sounded like he was advocating for violence, and that's
it is not a thing limited to Democrats. There are absolutely Republicans too who take this too far. Conservatives take it too far, and do things that, like, I wouldn't go as far as say incite people to violence, because that has a specific legal meaning, but like
correct.
create a moral acceptance for taking matters into their own hands and using violence against state officials. And again, that's a step in a dangerous direction. I know, listen, there are folks who think about that stuff like, yeah, we got to fight the system even if it means going this far. That's an ugly path, folks.
Yeah, I just want to retire, man. Grow old happy, like there's a certain amount of, I want more freedom for my children. I want people to wake up to the mind games that our current system is playing with us. Okay, that they get us at each other's throats, and it's always the threat of using government violence against the people that you disagree with, and that is a reality that people refuse to accept. Just because you win, you're still threatening somebody with violence for the laws that you're enacting, and that's a real problem. We don't need more laws. We need less laws, and we need flying cars, Kevin.
Yeah, we need flying cars. Good point there.
They're coming. I can feel it. We're at a turning point. They're coming. People are going to start listening to the Freedom variant and bring us flying cars. I got a shirt that says the Freedom variant on the sleeve. You see that?
Oh, do you? Oh, did you? Wow.
Against mandates
before it was
cool.
Did you have that made?
I did. I did.
Amazing. I gotta, actually, I gotta get some like free solution stuff.
And guys,
stuff made.
These are available. Just reach out to me and private message me on Facebook. I can get some.
Yeah. Dude, we gotta get a store or something going.
We should
get those, and then we'll get free solution stuff, and I'll get a free solution like mug, and then like a beer mug.
Who wouldn't want a free solution beer mug?
I know
beer is almost a free.
I know. I've been talking about this like forever, and haven't done it. And I know exactly how to do this. I've set this up for a bunch of people before, and I haven't done it. But
I got. I mean, we're coming up on an hour. I think we should. First of all, one more time, I've got to say that I'm really disappointed in Neil Gorsuch. He's been a brave individual. He has ruled on the constructionalist side of the Constitution, and somehow I feel like he's failed in his. I don't know. I'm disappointed. I'm sad.
That's a bummer.
That's some interesting news that might be funny, or it could be fake. I don't know.
What is it?
Well, all right. So Johnny Depp has been in the news. And we know that Johnny Depp successfully, this may mark a turning point in male-female relationships. Like all of a sudden, we may start really taking a look at the people involved in the case and not just siding with someone because of their gender. But based on that note, Johnny Depp and Jeff Beck have announced a new joint album called 18. Now, they have written 13 tracks. The album is titled 18 because when they were like covering the songs, it's going to be a cover album. They said they felt like they were 18 again. Do you think this is real news or fake news?
Fake news.
I got to tell you, it's real news. Johnny Depp and Jeff Beck, the legendary guitarist, are going to release an album of mostly covers next month. This is hot off the presses. It is Dateline today at 2:03 p.m. I got it first. You guys are getting it. They are going to cover, let's see, Venus and Furs from the Velvet Underground, the Everly Brothers, Let It Be Me, Marvin Gaye's soul classic, What's Going On? And guys, look, nobody can do that song right. I don't think that they should have done that one, but that's just my opinion. Let's see.
There are other people, I'm sure, who would disagree. Let's see.
Davy
I don't know. I don't
Spillane's
have a
Midnight
strong.
Walker, 2 songs from the Beach Boys masterpiece Pet Sounds, Caroline No, and Don't Talk, Put Your Head on My Shoulder. This and Depp even has supplied 2 originals. This is a song for Miss Hedy Lamarr, the set's first single, and I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes we see society pretty readily just trades on fame. So this may be a big success for him.
That's timing is everything, right? It's just knew how things are gonna shake out. So I gotta be honest, I did not follow any of that stuff like very much at all.
My wife, we watched the Pirates of the Caribbean, every single one of the movies that was associated with it, to show our support for Johnny Depp. I guess.
Do you know what? Like, do you even know the details of the case? Like,
no. I mean, I know Amber Heard took a poop on his bed. I know she cut his finger off with a wine bottle, or something. Yeah, no.
I mean, yeah. Like, okay. I caught some details of the case because I know, like, that one, like, I don't know, but like, it does seem like there was a lot of instances where she misrepresented the truth willfully, and then wrote that op-ed with the ACLU. There's a whole bunch of like weird corruption with the ACLU too. Like it's a whole thing. Listen, I don't know enough to talk about it. I'm just like, yeah, it's a total mess. It's kind of I am caught with being like, this is a mess and was probably actually defamatory, but I don't really like like defamation as like a concept for the most part because it kind of collides with free speech a bit.
I understand. We're talking about rich people playing games with each other's money. So I don't care. In the case of like Kyle Rittenhouse, I think that the news defamed him. Okay. Like they hurt that kid. Nicholas Sandman, I think the media traded on him and abused him. And guys, I'm not
particularly in those cases. Like there are so many people like with Kyle Rittenhouse too. Like it's like, man, there are so many people who just spread outright lies about that kid. Again, like there's its own facts of the case that like aren't necessarily like good for him either, and people can have their own opinions. But there was a bunch of stuff that was just not true, spread by like alleged journalists.
Reported. I don't know what school of journalism they went to, but man,
Washington Post. Did you follow any of the Washington Post stuff this week? It was a mess.
No, bro.
Like every once in a while, I'll peek into like that part of Twitter, and I'm like, oh, that's a dumpster fire. Like you guys, like David Weigel getting suspended, and then but for like retweeting a stupid bad joke, and then like another reporter getting fired, and then you got Taylor Lorenz who wrote that horrible story about the disinformation board, and then she wrote another one about TikTok this week where they had to issue a whole bunch of retractions because she outright lied about getting comments from like TikTokers about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. This all connects. Like I'm connecting the threads here, but
I got you.
It's a dumpster fire. I looked into that for a minute and I'm like,
just hurt your head.
I'd rather go back to libertarian Twitter.
Libertarian Twitter's pretty tame by comparison. Like really. Yeah. I had a couple tweets pop off this week. One was the picture of Jeffrey Epstein saying, "This economy did not kill itself." That popped off big. I got so many likes. Anything Epstein though, it always like you catch it at the right moment, it's gonna hit big, and it hit big on Twitter. So my TikTok's doing okay. But again, we'll circle back around to this Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing. What I like about it is there for a long time. And sort of like reasonably so, there was a demonization of the male of our species, right? And I think that Amber Heard help brush that back just a little bit because she was. I didn't watch any of it, but so many people came down on the side of Johnny Depp, like that. I don't even know what to say. Like my wife, all of her coworkers, they all were like, "Oh, now Amber Heard is so full of it."
Yeah, well, it was now shown in court. What's interesting is that she won in England, which usually doesn't happen, and then now she lost in the U.S. But yeah, there seems like there was some behavior that was abusive, some stuff that might have been made up. Again, because again, you can say terrible things about someone as long as it's true, right? Like that's
Or at
got to be
least
the thing. And then
you could reasonably interpret it from something they
yeah,
did.
and like again, what one of the things she did is again she wrote that op-ed about being a victim of domestic violence, funded by the ACLU, and weirdly like funded by Elon Musk too. He jumps into this somehow because he was dating Amber Heard for a minute.
For about a quick minute.
Yeah, and when she implied that she was abused by Johnny Depp, and everyone kind of knew what that was, but the extent to her abuse was not only like not provable, but like in some cases demonstrably false.
Right.
And it's not to say that Johnny Depp doesn't have his own issues for sure. And there might have been stuff there. It's just the stuff that she said publicly was also again demonstrably untrue in some cases.
Demonstrably false.
So again, it's kind of to your point about like do people automatically believe someone based on their gender? There's that whole like Me Too thing for a minute, which wherever like everyone's to believe all women, and again you gotta kind of look at the individual evidence of the facts of the situation, right? It is in fact possible for some women to lie and be manipulative in some of these. They make up half the population. Like it is possible for not all of them to be good virtuous people too. It's
yes. In that way, I want to say thank you to Amber Heard for putting it on display. According to the Court of Public Opinion in Otsego County, New York.
Yeah, and Dave says, "I want to know what came out with the Maxwell trial." We all do, man. We want to see that book. Who's on that list?
All of them are. I'm telling you right now. Trump, Biden, Hunter, all of them are there. Johnny Depp, Captain Jack Sparrow, they are all there, man. This was the hoppinest party scene. He's like what's
connected.
The word for it? There's a word in my brain that's lost, but Epstein was the magic man when it came to this stuff. He provided.
That's the one like very, very true conspiracy theory. Did not see that coming. That's at the end of oh wow, there actually was like a ring of child sex trafficking with billionaires. Okay, wow.
We started hearing about it 10 years ago. I'm just like, oh my God, another one. I'm like, no, that can't be true. It's all true. I was wrong. That's why I'm so happy being a conspiracy theorist now. Because I'm always right.
Always right. You can always find, someone on the internet saying that you're right. But before we go to it, I want to get to this thing. I want to throw a headline to you.
Okay.
And you tell me if it's real. Salon article: When Ronald Reagan's racism saved lives. Is that a real headline or a fake headline?
Oh my God. Okay. Again, I didn't see this, but I'm going to go down this road. Okay. I'm going to prognosticate that it's about.
I'm going to get banned with that shit.
Gun control saved lives. Ronald Reagan instituted gun control because he was appealed to our base nature of racial animosity. That's my thought.
Yeah, no, that was a real tweet, real headline from Salon. The full title was "When Ronald Reagan's Racism Saved Lives, Armed Black Men Meant Immediate Gun Control." Right, so they're talking about the incident where the Black Panthers like walked in on the Capitol in California, and then shortly, no, they didn't. They said, again, Black Panthers, they got their own stuff that I don't like, but they did they showed up. They said they had their right to do this. They had their power. It was intimidating, but they didn't actually hurt anyone in the process. But immediately afterwards, Ronald Reagan's like, "Yep, ban those guns now," and they enacted a whole bunch of gun control legislation. Ronald Reagan also was the one who banned automatic weapons.
Look
what he did.
Reagan.
Reagan loved taking them guns.
Again, like these guys, Reagan was a great speaker on the issues of freedom. Okay, he was wonderful, and he talked a good talk.
But he talked pretty. But
to get elected, he did some things that I don't agree with him, and his stances on gun control and some of his racial animus was completely inappropriate. Now, to be fair, he did cut a deal where he granted amnesty to 16 million illegal aliens. 16 million illegal aliens. Huh?
Good.
Right. But it was in return for good border control that he made a deal and he got lied to. So, like, that's why they preserve these issues and they use them to keep manipulating us. And I don't know. Like, Reagan is such a conundrum for me because he after Carter, he boosted literally lifted the spirits of the American people. And I'm not exaggerating this. Like, he was such an eloquent speaker that he gave people hope. And then he talked about cutting taxes and he talked about getting the government out of the way. And he did lots of interesting things. And he was funny.
Yeah, just a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good entertainer, right?
And I know history is painting him, well, as a racist, but not for the right reasons. They're not painting him.
It depends on who you talk to, right? Like
for gun control.
Yeah, he's still viewed as like a god among like a certain set of conservatives. I think they're all like kind of not dying out, but like they moved on. And then like the progressive left, they're like he's literally the devil, like the worst president we've ever had.
On balance, Kevin, he was
Donald Trump has kind of replaced both of those.
Yeah, on balance, by far the best president of my lifetime. On balance, by far. The rest of these guys have been way worse hypocrites, way worse liars, and way worse psychopaths. He was the closest thing to a good president that we've ever had in my lifetime.
Reagan.
The closest thing to a good president, and I'm a devout libertarian. I think we could all do well without a president.
If you got to pick, like the best of like these turds, all right.
This horrible list of bad people, but Reagan is he's number one.
Yeah. But so that article, by the way, if you ever reading it, I'm not gonna link to this one because it's terrible. But like they're like, oh well, like Ronald Reagan's racism is basically exactly as you said. Like he appealed to those base instincts to get gun control, and that saved a bunch of lives. So it was a good thing. But like the evidence for like showing that is actually pretty weak. Like the evidence that like the gun control that Ronald Reagan did anything but like keep guns out of the hands of people like the Black Panthers and other folks who just wanted a means of self-defense. It's pretty weak. There's no evidence that it actually. Or I say it is pretty weak evidence to suggest that was the predominant factor in reducing like a number of deaths over like the immediate period following that.
I'm going to stand by the fact that we continue to oppress poor people and minorities in the city, and part of the method is by limiting their access to defending themselves. It's a reality.
Yeah. So 100%. And also, by the way, that tweet from Salon got absolutely roasted. Like both like the left and the libertarians and the right were just like,
love it.
What the hell? And like, are you saying racism is good? Well, but just people were just blowing them up, and so they deleted it, and then they had this, they changed the title and they had a new tweet that said like, we have updated this headline, delete the original tweet for this story, and it's currently getting ratioed if you want to pile on and find out the Salon's Twitter for that. Like everyone's just like posting like, you mean this deleted tweet? And it's just like 200 comments immediately after of like the screenshot of
look, people are catching on to the fact that a lot of the gun control that they bought into was race-based when it was created. And
especially in the
waking
19th
people
century,
up.
but really right up through today, a
Yeah.
lot of it is but like they were pretty upfront about it, like in the post-Civil War period and during Reconstruction. They're like, hey, we're going to enact these laws that prohibit everyone from getting guns so that it complies with the 14th Amendment. But to be clear, this is mostly to stop black people from getting guns because they keep defending themselves in the Klan. Like they're pretty upfront with that.
Man, what a
because
better
that's what they're
history
doing. They're like, hey, this is my land and I'm going to defend it now, and screw you for trying to hurt my family. And they're like, well, we're going to make your guns illegal.
Oof. Yeah. And look, guys, history is replete with examples of making guns illegal and the end result being a complete and utter disaster. Like Australia hasn't gotten there yet, but like their COVID camp strategy was something that we didn't see in the United States, and we had some pretty authoritarian psychopaths running the show. But they were putting people in camps in Australia.
That was bizarre.
But they took all the guns in Australia, and it hasn't gone. Hopefully, it goes no further downhill. And there's a booming black market for guns in Australia, and people are still dying from gun violence.
What's their compliance rate originally? It was like 20%. The guns are still there.
People turning in potato guns for $500 and stuff.
I know,
it was
right?
Great. It was great.
All right, but we probably should call it a night.
Got one more fake news, then we can.
All right. You tell me what's the
okay. So look, guys, you environmentalists are gonna love this. All right, it's absolutely wonderful. New York has recently passed legislation that is going to pave the way for human composting. Real news or fake news?
It's probably real. Like, why not? Let's compost the people.
It is real. Like it is real. It absolutely is real. I'm not sure it's a bad idea. Dave was on it.
Is that one of the 1,000 bills that they passed?
They pass so much garbage. That's the thing. These guys, they don't legislate. People who every virtuous bill, every powerful, like emotional argument, let's make that a law. So I'm actually, be clear, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with this. This may be fine, like you do what you do. Man.
I assume you give this. You would turn the body over to a professional who composts. It's not just like, oh no, you're throwing my dad in a bin type of deal.
No, you get the Home Depot thing, right?
And like the spinner, right? Like, so you're not.
Somebody might help you make smaller parts because that could be an emotional thing for your family. But no, you just do it at home. It's fine, and then you plant a tree.
You're joking.
Guys, and they're giving away the human. Actually, you're right. They turn it over to a professional. The human composting companies are, Kevin, giving out free samples just so that you can take it home and grow some flowers.
So I will say this again. I'm sorry if I offend anyone who works in this industry, but it is wild. Cemeteries are wildly wasteful. And I say this as someone who worked in a cemetery, right? That was my summer job between.
That's an argument from authority. I call you.
It is. But but whenever I was there, because what will happen, right, is if you've never seen this process work, you lower someone into a concrete box, and then they take the body that's full of embalming fluid, whatever, in a coffin and lower that out into the box, and then they put a concrete thing over it and then bury it. And I'm like, man, that's a lot of material for something that used to just decompose.
Could grow a tree.
Could
grow a tree, Kevin.
No, so again, I get it. I respect family, but to me, I'm like, man, that's a lot of stuff that's just gonna be there forever.
Yeah.
When I know that's kind of the point, but I don't know. Big composting industry.
Big composting is buying politicians. I believe it, man. Oh my God. Yeah. Look at what happened in Canada last week. Look, we're going to finish up the show. One of the things I want to say in conclusion is,
guys, in the next 2 hours,
weak people make hard times, and we're on a collision course for some hard times. We have weak people in charge. And
So
that's a
is
reality. They're
you
not.
quoting this stuff? Fourth
Yeah,
term.
yes.
Someone gave me this book like 6 years ago. Actually, the former chair of the Monroe County Libertarian Party. I have not read it yet because I am lazy at reading books, and I will probably get it on audiobook eventually.
Yeah.
But
At least you're doing that. That's proactive.
I read a lot of audiobooks. That's because I'll do it on like 2.5 times speed. That's
Yeah. Because you're that smart.
just put it on. I got data entry work to do. Put it on 2.5 times speed. I blew through the entire Old Man's War series by John Scalzi like in the last 2 weeks.
That's actually kind of impressive. And you feel like you retain a pretty fair amount of knowledge from that.
Yeah, I do.
I read really fast, I think. And I get pretty good retention from what I read. Like I can read like 27,000 words a minute, something like that. I could read an entire Stephen King book, 1,100 pages in 10 hours.
Nice.
But I think I might skip a lot of words. But like with Stephen King, the themes get a little bit
fine. Yeah, as
predictable,
long as you can get it. All
It's
right. Anyway, we should probably call it night because I want to go to bed. Yeah,
But I had a blast, brother. This was great.
it's fun. All right. Well, thanks, folks, for listening to our Thursday evening show. Again, our radio show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday now on WYSL, of course, on these Facebook pages too. But me on Monday and Wednesday, Larry Sharp on Tuesday, and then occasionally Tim on Mondays and Wednesdays too. You'll join me every once in a while. But
I will.
Yeah. So you just gotta, if you decide to play hooky at work, that type of thing,
Yeah. And guys, the back of my shirt says, "I'm already against the next mandate."
There you go. Gotta get the full vision. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. Have a wonderful night. Appreciate y'all being here, leaving lots of awesome comments. Have a great night.